Good afternoon from Israel. In the past 2 years, Israel had 4 elections and was operating without a budget for an alarmingly long time. Yesterday, I was privileged to be in Israel when a new government was sworn in, and there was a strong feeling of the beginning of a new era. After 12 years of being the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu was replaced by Naftali Bennett, a man who most outside of Israel have never heard of. And this is hardly the most interesting thing that happened yesterday. My sister-in-law, Vered, put it well. Remember, she said to me, when they taught us in school about political scenarios that are theoretically possible but never happened in the past and will never happen in the future? Well, this government proved them wrong. She was right. What was considered to be hypothetical or theoretical for 73 years became yesterday a reality. Let me point out some of the highlights. 1. The reason that the new Prime Minister is fairly unknown outside of Israel is that he is the leader of one of the smaller political parties with only 6 members out of 120. In comparison, Netanyahu's party has 30 members. It is not that the head of the largest party has always been the Prime Minister. Sometimes it was the head of the second largest, but the difference in size was always negligible. 2. The head of the coalition's largest party, Yair Lapid, who was the natural candidate to replace Netanyahu, willingly gave up his claim to the prime minister position in the interest of forming a government and avoiding fifth election. 3. And our party is part of the government for the first time in Israel's history. Remember, 20% of Israeli citizens are Arabs, and the current Knesset has 2 Arab parties. One of them stayed in the opposition. 4. The Labour Party and Meretz, the historical left-wing parties, sit in a coalition together with Yamina and New Hope, parties that are right of the Likud, Netanyahu's party. Why did it happen? How did politicians with a wide and deep gap separating them found a way to join forces? Without a hint of cynicism, the answer is clear. They all have one thing in common that is stronger than their political, ideological, religious, and ethnic differences: their desire to oust Netanyahu. Netanyahu did not lose because Israel has shifted to the left. On the contrary, in the past quarter of a century, Israel has been consistently shifting to the right. But Netanyahu, after almost 2 decades of being the indisputable leader of the political right, could no longer keep all of his ideological partners under his control. The new government has 3 party leaders, Bennett, Saar, and Lieberman, who are to the right of Netanyahu, all started as his political allies and all were ministers in his many parties. And yet, they chose to collaborate with the left and even the Arabs, who have never been seen as a legitimate partner in any previous government. This is not the time to describe the roots of the enmity between Netanyahu and his former partners. It is enough to say that after 12 years of a single head of state, most Israelis from the entire political spectrum felt that it was time for a change. And if this government survives, a change, albeit incremental and slow, will come. To bring about this change, a majority of the members of the Knesset were willing to take a tremendous political risk and to try to do what until weeks ago was considered to be impossible: working together with their previous bitter opponents, if not their sworn enemies. To be honest, this government is no one's dream. its members will have to constantly compromise and focus on what unites them without being able to push their own agenda to where they aspire to. But when I look at the new government with 9 female ministers, including the first Ethiopian-born woman, Pnina Tamano-Shete, and politicians who are willing to put their egos aside and truly work for the sake of our beloved country, I have more hope than I had in many years. May God bless Israel and her leaders. Amen.